Ready, set, go, no matter what. All right. And I think we're going live. If we are live, hello, everybody. Give me just 1 second. All right. And we are live. Hello, beautiful people. And hello, Paulette. Paulette is my special guest for today. We are watching and listening to another episode, special episode of Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, refire, and refuel your life. And that's the show, as you know, where I interview lots of different experts, special experts in different fields, people who I personally pick and choose to elevate our life in so many different ways. And that's why I'm super excited about today's episode. Let me officially welcome you, Paulette, into the show. So yeah, absolutely. So for those of you guys who have never seen this woman, you are for a real treat. So let me give you a few lines from her official bio first to start with, and then I'm going to add my personal flavor, as always. So, Paulette Hamel, right? Is Hamel?
Yes, Hamel. Yep.
Hamel. See, I always check it. I always want to make sure that I pronounce the people's names and the last names. It's very important. So, about Paulette. Paulette Hamel is the legacy life mentor, speaker, and strategist who has guided high-achieving women entrepreneurs who once struggled to love their life or feed their soul to find out that some days are not a day on the calendar. That's very true.
Right? No more some days.
Yes, no some days. With her uncanny ability to see and reflect the brilliance and legacy in others, Paulette has helped to open the door for big names and businesses on the rise to realize true success doesn't like just what's in your own bank account. It also elevates, and the true success also elevates and supports others. It pays it forward and leaves a meaningful legacy.
Yeah, thanks for that, Zhanna.
Well, thank you. And from my personal perspective, Paulette and I, we met not that long ago. And I just want to say from the moment I saw this lady with all this valuable feedback that she usually gives and so open, with open arms to the world, she has so much to give. And more importantly, she's very, very trustworthy and so radiates just love and kindness all over. So I'm really excited for this interview, especially because we're going to talk about live your legacy now. And Paulette, this is one of the things that you guys have to know about her also. She is known as the legacy lady. Yeah. And we're going to start with the question that I usually ask my guests. And the question is, what's your big dream? And it could be business related, personal, combined, more than one.
Here goes. My biggest dream has actually become a mission, and that's to get 1 million women to be inspired to do what they love, right? And that way we can make change together and make this world a better place. That for me is a big one. And that's actually what has become the driver for my business. On a personal level, it's to be worthy of all that I've been given. And I know that might sound a little bit like, what do you mean be worthy? You are worthy. Yes. But what I mean is that some gifts that I have been given from a great family, a great upbringing, wonderful experiences, mentors and leaders in my life that impacted what I've done and did with my career and other things in life, that gift they gave me, that I can give back that and more. Right, within my lifetime while I'm alive, to see the impact. And if that's not the plan, then, goes right into this whole mindset of legacy living or legacy lifestyle. And that's a huge part of what I'd like to do. So yeah. Big dream, both of them.
Yes, huge, I would say. And I love that. I want to dig into your definition of legacy, because we're going to be talking a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
How do you define legacy? What is it?
So I think, let me start with what legacy is not for me. And that's not the end. It's not the after I'm gone, that, what did people think about me? What did people want or wish that I had done, or even that I had done myself, right? That it's at the end of the process, the end of life. For me, legacy is the beginning. And that means creation. So if I'm going to create legacy, then I'm going to not just live with the end in mind, because as a person, I live that way anyways. We don't know when our time is up. So I try to live, as the old saying goes, in the moment, right? But that's huge, to try and let go of the past, but reflect on it, right? That's where I learn. And to think about the future, the dreams of what could be. But more than that, I take and put the two together right here, right now. So legacy is in this moment, making moments that matter, making experiences for other people that maybe haven't tried these things before, or haven't traveled, or haven't gone through mindset or personal development work, and exposing and sharing what I've compiled, put together, and letting that reciprocate, right? Letting that ripple out into the world, and eventually it'll hit somebody and come back tenfold.
Yeah.
That to me is legacy.
That is it's also the abundance mindset.
Absolutely.
Yes, and you have an incredibly interesting, very rich story, personal story. You've been in Paris,
I
right?
have.
Yeah, you've been in Paris. You were in fashion design. Could you please take us through that journey, and how did you come to where you are doing the work that you do? Because you've done so much before,
Yeah.
and you were always successful. So for people to just know your story, could you start? I usually say start from the revolution. So let's go.
And it was a revolution. It was a Paulette revolution. And it was a growth story. I was a young person, a young adult. I just turned 21 when I decided to leave Canada and come down to California. And there went to school and went into the fashion industry. But I'll step back for a second, because my sister and I were living together in Canada, and she challenged me to answer these questions to apply at these different fashion schools in the back of Glamour magazine. And there was 4 of them. And at the time I was in maxillofacial surgery. So I was helping a dentist in that industry to be able to work with the terminally ill and make them comfortable in really serious dental processes. And as I was doing that work, my sister started to see something in me that I didn't see in myself. And she's like, you love art. Why are you going into dentistry? And then this doctor happened to say the same thing in the same week. And this is where I'm like, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
This fellow said to me, or the doctor said to me, you're always drawing. You're so good with your hands. You should be in art. So I was like, my sister says this to me, my doctor, the employer says this to me. I was questioning if I was in the right field at school. I wasn't happy. There's just something that felt like I was doing all this work for other people, but not for myself. Then this magazine comes up. My sister challenged me to fill it out. So I filled it out. So this is all happening within about a 5 to 6 day period. I get accepted at all 4 schools.
Oh.
So part of the process of application was sending in photos of your work back in the day when we didn't have our cell phones yet. So this was done via fax and everything else. So I picked the school in California because it was closest to home. I'm from Alberta, from the West. That was the reasoning of the 4 schools. Plus, I already knew how to draw, so I wanted to not spend my hard savings going through and going to a school where I was going to be taught something that I thought I already knew. So I went into manufacturing. Long story short, that led me to winning a scholarship and a trip to Paris. And Paris took me to, standing there and handing pins within these atelier studios and going to La Chambre Syndicale, where I was able to learn haute couture. That led me to meeting somebody I fell in love with and married. And that led, right? And, And well, I met him in California and went to school, and he was from Europe also. So we ended up living then in Norway, and then going from Norway back to California. And I was able to get great work there. And then that kept going. And really, when I think about how could I leave my job, switch careers, change countries, change states, move to another continent and come back. And I keep looking back over time, and I like, what happened to me? What was going through, or what things occurred? It wasn't like somebody said, do this. It was these choices that I was like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure how to do this. I don't have the money in place right now. But what I did have was this incredible confidence that whatever was going to happen, I was going to be okay. It's simple as that. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be okay, the only thing that I would regret not doing this is wondering what would have happened had I done it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kept me going. That's what catapulted this crazy journey. So that led to coming back and working in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I've been here now for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And that led to doing my own mindset work, because I read a book from Eckhart Tolle. I happened to meet Deepak.
The Power of Now?
The Power of Now. Yeah. And then I happened to meet Deepak Chakra in San Diego. Just a chance meeting. I was like, well, who's this guy? Everybody's talking about yoga and all this stuff. And I had no idea. I was so naive.
World name, right?
And then I find out as the years go by, this guy becomes this most incredible global guru. Yeah. And at the time, I had an opportunity to take a course also in San Diego. Mm-hmm. That course led me to a master class, which it wasn't called back then. It was called the Accelerated Business School. And over there, I met Jack Canfield. I also met Jim Collins, who wrote From Good to Great. So I'm sitting in this room with these people taking this course, this little girl from Canada.
So for people who don't know, Jack Canfield is the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, right?
That is correct.
But you were taking a class with him. Right?
I was taking a class with him, and we were going through, and Jim Collins wrote From Good to Great, which is a very popular business book. And that was presented in this course. And this course was very much about digging deep into yourself, and how to find this inner strength, and how to trust other people. And at first I was just like, oh my gosh, what did I do? This is woo-woo. This is strange. I had never been exposed to anything like that before. Mm-hmm. So they did something where they said, if you think this is a cult, or you think this is something that is not something you'll participate in, and there will be sleep deprivation. They gave us some warnings of what was coming up. So over half the room stood up and left. So then those that were left were the Jack Canfield and these other incredible people from all over the world. I think there was a total of 31 of us that were left. And we ended up taking this course and going through. And it was following your intuition about what to do in business circumstances, right? This was a very in-depth, situational business course. That opened up for me the first time ever, the realization that as a woman, as a person sitting on the other side of the world with people from around the world, how many of us think the same way, but don't have the opportunity, the mentor, or the education yet to be able to take these master plans, these master tactics and strategies to start your own business. Mm-hmm. So when I went back to the United States, this was held in Kuala Lumpur at the time, in Singapore. And I went back and I started my own business. I just said, that's it. I'm going to do consulting. I didn't know how or why or what, but I love the fashion industry. So that became my glue, my rock. And I started to consult for fashion corporations, and I started to train their teams and show them branding and figure out what to do next. How is the company going to last? How are we going to be able to have something that if the owner of the company was gone, the business would be able to continue because there was a collection of clothing that could evolve, or accessories that would accent it, or passive streams of income to the company that were gifts or subscription models, etc. So that experience led me to look into going online, because just a few years ago, I was looking at my consulting business and saying, I've done this for 27 years. I want to share what I know. So I was getting ready to do a presentation, and I had gone in to a company, and this was the big one, right? This is like, I'm going to do this. We're going to start this whole new division, this whole brand, everything. And my cell phone rings, and I looked down, and I saw it was my brother. And I was just like, what he wants. And so I thought, well, it's my brother, and I have this thing. If family calls, I pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. So I picked up the phone, and first thing he says, I know you're going to cry. I have cancer. They say I have 6 months to live. It came that strict, that short, that blunt. And I stopped.
And it's a younger brother, right?
Yeah, he's 5 years younger. And it just made me
stop.
Yeah. Not only stop, it made me see how instantaneous your life can change, and everything, the busyness, the money, the going into these CEOs, the house I lived in, the clothes I was wearing, the path I was on, it just evaporated in importance. And that evaporation turned into a realization. Am I giving back to this planet? And what am I doing in my life right now that matters to me, right? That has value. So part of me became very selfish and instantly looked like, oh my God, what if that happened to me? And all these thoughts. The other part of me was like, how fast can I get home to help him? What can I do? He's in Canada. I'm down here in the United States. How am I going to make this happen? Mm-hmm. And as the older sister, that's my nature, is to go out and want to put my arms around it and be the solid rock and be okay. And like, I can do this. So he's in remission. He is doing well. Mm-hmm. And we are fantastic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the thing that came up was this question of, can you come home and help me out? And our family decided to do that, rally around each other. And we went together in shifts. I have a sister, and we all did this together. Mm-hmm. And when it came up that this conversation of affairs, pre-planning, mm-hmm. what happens when you die? Is everything in order? And he says, I need help with this. And I was like, okay. And he goes, well, not for me, for my mom, for mom and dad. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, it's not, they're not complete. You know, they have a will, but it's not finished. And it's like all this stuff. And so that scared me, because I was thinking, my mom and dad are rock solid. They're my cheerleaders. They've been my rock my whole life. And I was thinking, what if something happened to them and they don't have things in order? That led to a whole transition in my life from corporate to going online. And that happened because I decided to go into the funeral business at the time and say, I want to do pre-planning. I want to help families understand the importance of getting their paperwork completed and getting all this in order, your will, your trust, your end of life wishes, right? So that you're leaving that gift to your family and not leaving somebody else that's behind when you pass away to sit there and figure it all out. So that became a huge, powerful driver. So I came back to the States after helping my brother, and things settled down, and helping my parents, and they did get their things in order, and seeing the experience of how much relief that gave everybody and how much we didn't know about each other till we sat down having these really tough conversations. Yeah. That led to like legacy. The conversation about the word legacy came up all the time. This is like a whole month, 5 weeks of my life that was just like legacy this, legacy that. What do people think about me? What are people going to do when I'm gone? What can I do to make things easier when I'm not here? And then the other side of it was, what about my business? How do I leave a succession plan? How do I exit my business if I want to sell it and keep it going? How do I live legacy now? And then that led to, how do I even create legacy? So I came from Canada back down and started to share with people and started to show others. And they started success in filling out their paperwork and having these peace of mind and coming back and saying, oh my gosh, Paulette, thank you for talking about this in a normal way and not making it scary. It's not dark. It's not morbid. Those that think that it is, I think, are not understanding how in North America, especially, we don't want and don't think about dying and that we're going to be gone one day. So I turned that into going from being a certified pre-planner, becoming a licensed burial agent, to selling plans that helped people get the backing or the funding that they needed to make sure that their expenses were covered. And I'm not an attorney, but all that experience led to, hey, there is a difficulty or a problem with people saying, I can do this. I can talk about this. I can go out of my cocoon and get out of this scary place, especially when you're talking about pre-planning and end of life. And I put together a bundle for them to be able to complete it. That led to where I am today. And that's now taking people like myself who have businesses, who have dreams of doing big things that impact the world. So I started to inspire people. They were asking me how I did it. I say, this is what I did. I made choices on the very, very small, I call it a small thought because it was a simple thought. More than just do it. Get out there and go for a choice that you don't have the answer to, and trust that it's going to end up okay, because no matter what happens, you're going to be able to make choices that are going to take you in different directions that'll eventually get you into that end spot, right, into that goal. So I know I'm saying a lot about my journey, but the story has, for so many other people, is so different, but the end result is the same. We would love to leave this planet better than when we came into it. We would love to have an impact on others and an influence. And you can't have influence if you don't have confidence. And you can't have confidence if you don't recognize that you've got fears that you need to let go, right? So I have created a course, and I also have a mastermind group, and I show women what we can do together to be able to have this influence, to create our confidence, to build connections, to become givers. And this giving part of it took me a long time in my life. I was a collector. I was a person who had to get more money, save my money, invest my money. It all came only to Paulette, right? Now, my intention was to save to be able to give later when I could afford to do so. And then I started to let go. I had learned from Jack and these other people that giving now, giving generously, giving without conditions will reciprocate. It will bring back.
And not only conditions, attachments, right? Given with no attachments. And I want to just quickly, if you don't mind, say that the whole story and the whole journey, if you look at the trajectory, what stands out for me is like the course that you took or the program that you took at the beginning, you were always following your intuition, because the jump is so huge. You go from dentistry to fashion, and then to this and that, and then you end up doing the pre-planning before people pass, like crossover and things like that. But a lot of it takes a lot of courage, and you talked about the courage, and I want and recognition of the fears that you have. Anything that you could for somebody who is listening right now and thinking, oh my God, I mean, it's good for Paulette to do this because she's done it already. But do you remember what was, maybe it's like the onion, right? We're peeling off the layers, and then something else is coming up is in terms of the fear. When we think that we've gone through everything, something else shows up, right? What was it for you? What did you need to let go of in the first place?
You said the word. I had to let go of my fear of not knowing what will happen if I moved from
Uncertainty.
Canada to the US, if I went to this course from the US to Kuala Lumpur, if I moved to Paris. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't know where to go. I remember my boyfriend at the time, I ended up marrying him, and that marriage didn't work. And I'm sharing that because there were things that happened. But here I was sitting in Paris. I'd just taken him to the airport. I'm sitting on my suitcase and I started to cry because I had nowhere to go. I had just taken him to the airport and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Paris. Everybody loves this place. This is an incredible opportunity. And I had no place to go. I was naive enough to think you could look in a newspaper and find apartments and go rent one. I found out you had to know people and they had to refer you. And then you had to be able to go there and have cash right away for them to be able to take you in. This girl is walking down the street. She walks right up to me and she says, "Are you okay?" Well, then I started sobbing. And I said to her, I said, "No, I have no place to live." And I'm sitting on my suitcase. And she actually started to laugh. And I spoke French to her. And she goes, "Are you Canadian?" And I said, "I am," because she recognized my dialect is so different than Parisian. It's like, the dialect I have is like farmer French. But she said to me, she goes, "I've always wanted to go to Canada." And this is me. And I'm not saying this is everybody, but this is what happened and what caused a change. My words that came out of my mouth were, "If you want to go to Canada, you can stay with my family. Do you think I could stay with yours?" I didn't know this person. I don't know why this came out of my mouth, but I knew that I was afraid. I was in a country. I didn't speak the same dialect. I felt like I didn't fit in. I had just, the only link I had in my whole world, I'd put on an airplane. And now I'm in this country by myself. And I'm a woman. And I felt vulnerable. And it was dusk. And I was sitting right in front of the opera in Paris. And I was like, I wish I could have a picture of it, but that's what it was. And she asked me this. And do you know, she put me on a train with her. We both carried my suitcase because it was super heavy. And we went to her home. And I sat there in the front parlor, or the front entrance when you walk in. And she says, "Well, my family has decided they're going to have an interview." I said, "An interview?" And she says, "Yes, you need to talk to my dad." So her dad comes out and we start talking, and he starts speaking French. And he says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to school and I start in a few weeks, but I don't have a place to stay. Do you think I could just stay with you for a few weeks till I find an apartment?" And I said, "You can talk to my dad." Now, I haven't talked to my dad. This is the time when there was no cell phones. So I had to call on a landline. My dad picks up. This family was nice enough to let me make a long distance call, which is like $2 a minute at that time. And my dad answers and I said, "Dad, I'm stuck. I'm in Paris. I sent, Gare home and I did this. And I said, I have no place to stay. This family's here. Would you talk to them? I have an opportunity to stay with them." Do you know my dad said yes? So this is the sequence of events. I'm just like, what? He said yes? And he did. And he talked to this French strange man on the phone. And when this gentleman hung up, he turns to me and he goes, "I really like your dad. I like your mom. I talked to her too. You are welcome to stay here." And that started a whole new journey. So when you say to me, what was it? I shared that story because it's the deepest one I can share about not only intuition, but trust. Call it your higher power, call it God, call it whatever. For me, it's God. That I was going to be taken care of, that I felt protected. I was sure that what was going to come next. Some people call this woo-woo. I don't care what you call it. If you don't have an inner drive, if you don't have this inner self-trust, there's no way you can make choices that are going to be unknowing and be secure in that choice and say, whatever's going to come out of this, it's going to be different than what I'm in right now. And that is the big thing I wanted to share. The difference of knowing that what I was in at the moment was not where I wanted to be, was not getting me in the direction I had to go, then I was, okay, put yourself in another environment. And it was like, what? In that case, it was Paris. Okay. After that, it became Norway. After that, it was California. After that, it was Ohio, and then Wisconsin. And then I traveled the world with my occupation. And then I became powerful in negotiations and powerful in building brands. And now I'm known and recognized, right, in an industry, in the corporate world, of being the person to do the innovation, the ideation. She knows how to get something from a thought all the way to an end result, right, into reality. And not only that, I made millions for other people. I decided I wanted to try and go for, let's make millions for me. Why? Because I have this dream to live off of 10% and donate 90%. That's the giving I want to get to. That's that path. I'm not there yet, but my formula is, if I want to live on $1 million, then I need to generate 10. If I want to generate 10, how do I do that? Surround myself with people that are a step ahead of me or that have achieved it. Watch them, model them, right? Yes. And so that created this whole legacy plan. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you have created the plan, and I wanted to see if you could share with everybody that plan that you've created, because you have the whole spinning wheel, right?
I do. I was sharing with you.
Talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, so I call it my my life wheel. And it goes through finance, personal growth, health, family, relationships, social life, attitude, and career. And what I do is we break out, right? We break out these segments. And the reason why it's a ship's wheel is because when you are living a legacy lifestyle, that means you're the captain of your ship. You're at the helm, right? You're at the beginning. I am an avid sailor. I sail competitively. And it's a passion that I absolutely adore. But it takes, even if you move a little bit, many seconds for a boat to move and follow that shift. And I think people have lost, with all the noise that's on the internet and online and everything that's happening, they've lost that the shift is not instant. It's not instant gratification. It's not instant success. It's not instant change. It's not instant anything. And then they're so impatient that they shift again. And when this first shift is finally catching up to what could have happened, they give up, or they lose their path, or they lose their ambition. So I said, I'm going to focus on one thing: inspiring 1 million women to be inspired to do what they love. And some people are just like, well, why aren't you talking to everybody? Because I'll get there eventually. That'll be the second shift. Yes. But you have to start with what's in you and where you're at in your life and what's happening right now. And that's why I go through this life wheel, right? It takes you through the different segments. And what we do is we sit down and we say, okay, well, how are we going to build this confidence? How are we going to increase our connections? And how are we going to contribute, become givers? That's not overnight. I take people with me. We do this over a year. We go through, and month by month, I meet with people. We talk within our group. We share exercises, expertise, guest speakers, everything else to bring in what the group needs. And I will tell you, I can't give you a cookie cutter plan for this, because some groups don't need to have the basics, the strategies. They want real world experience from people that have done things. So it becomes a lot of speakers. Other sessions become all about strategy, because they're like, hey, I've been there, done that. I've heard a lot of people, but I want to know exactly how, right? How can I take and be a legacy business? What do I do to create my succession plan? What does that involve? Or on another level, they're just like, okay, I want to go, Paulette, and be with you, and let's meet. We're going to go to Florida in April. I invite people to meet up, and we talk. What do we talk about? Life, kids, family, our houses, our assets, investments, politics. We talk about it all around a campfire in a comfortable situation, away from work, without our devices.
What are the uncommon ways? What are other uncommon? This is a perfect example of how
Yeah.
you can literally get things done, actually. And it's so counterintuitive. People think, oh, it has to be always a very structured situation, right? With either speakers or just with the coach, or but sometimes it takes the opposite way of thinking. It just completely disattach yourself or change the environment, like
Right.
you've done so many times in your life. So what are the uncommon things that you have done except for traveling? So traveling, you already shared that.
Yes, global travel has been huge. Personal development work. I used to really like snub my nose at people that did that. I was just like, oh, they're one of those people, or thought that they were just in another world and planet. And then I opened up, I think you can see it on my shelf, right? I
You
opened
can't
up this
really.
book. I
Uh-huh.
happened to read this one. I happened to read the other one that you had mentioned.
The Power of Now, right? You
Yes,
mentioned
yes.
before.
Another book by Adam Grant, Give and Take.
Even
So
take, I
as I
haven't read
started to read and started to shut down, okay, less TV, more time to learn. And as I started to read these books, I was like, hey, I connect with this. There's something in there that was intriguing and interesting. So from the travel and the other business things, because I come from a business background. I haven't been an entrepreneur my whole life. The entrepreneur as a consultant was tied to corporate accounts. So I was not what I call a pure entrepreneur, somebody who goes online with an idea and targets people that they don't sit across the table from. That to me is foreign, or was, and made me go through these journeys of self-discovery, self-nurturing, right? And especially with my mind. So I had a real block around money. And that created scarcity because I always felt I needed it. I always felt I had to go and get the money, make the money, bring home the money, save the money. It really affected my life in a huge way. I was blessed enough to have high-paying positions and was able to accumulate it, and blessed enough to have people in my life that taught me how to invest and how to save. But as a business person, it was very difficult. I kept going like, why isn't there enough? Why can't I make money? And then I learned it's not about that. How was I serving my audience? That's when everything changed. Everything. Then the travel and everything that we just mentioned, it didn't become insignificant, but it had a different purpose in my life. And it's like, so why did I end up traveling the world so heavily? Why was I on my own so much as an independent woman? Why did I have a divorce in my life and become a single mom? Why did I have a bonus daughter? Not able to have my own children, but I did get a daughter in my life. And this person became an incredible daughter with grandchildren and everything else that she's brought into my life. So this power, this manifestation, I don't even know what words to really use, happens when you can stand where you are right now and consciously say to yourself, am I happy? Right? Am I doing what will make me happy? And am I affecting, influencing others with that happiness? Absolutely. It sounds very simple, but being happy brings a whole different way of thinking. Yes. And then you do things different. You yes. feel different. Your energy is different. You become alive through a screen like this. Absolutely. And that happens because of this it's like an inner beam.
Inner beam. And that's what, right? You radiate all the time. To me, the shift, and I can totally relate to what you're saying. To me, the shift was when I looked at myself in the mirror, and just like you, I have been fascinated by personal development. I've never put my nose, like I was never like, who are these people? It was me, because I was trying to find the answers, also connected to my story, but we're not going to get into my story today. It's just when the shift happened, when I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was for years, and I couldn't say, and it's such a simple thing to say, I love you to myself. And when I finally arrived to that place and I looked at myself one morning and I said, I love you, and I didn't have a cringe in my stomach,
Yeah.
that's when everything shifted for me. And that's what I see in you. Like when you're talking about happiness, we can't give what we don't have, right?
Right.
So we have to start loving ourselves first. It's not just a line in holy books and whoever, like whatever, wherever you find it. It is the truth that we have to come to realize in this life first for ourselves, and then start giving, because that's
Yes.
we're giving from the overflow. If our cup is half full, there's nothing to give, right?
Right.
That's what you are doing. So Paulette, a question which is not related, and we will come back to where
Yeah.
people can find you. The painting behind you, did you paint that? Did you make
I
it?
did not. And I wish I did, because I love it. You know, when you see something and you're just like, this, it gives you emotion, it gives you feelings, it gives you everything.
Yeah.
This is an artist, I should know her name by heart, Marion Rose. And she did this painting. And what I loved about it, a lot of people are just like, oh, that's so cute, you know, so nice. The wolf is resting on the other one. For me, I saw this as the resting wolf, have structure, I have family, I have support
Solid
under me.
foundation.
Yes. And so that has been a huge impact.
Anchor.
And
Anchor and
yeah.
like a talisman for you. And I'm always looking, you can't not pay attention to that painting, and it's so
Right.
powerful. Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining the meaning, what it means for you.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that it affected my business too, because I work
absolutely.
now with people that not people that are starting up their business, but people that they're well enough down the path. They've figured out that they can make money, but they haven't figured out how to create more adventure, right? And more soul nurturing.
Yeah.
And be able to put that on equal footing, right, with their money making efforts. This is something that I teach and that I show others.
Yeah.
How do you leave? How do you leave one way of thinking and get into another? How do you get that confidence? How do you create that confidence? Because from there ripples out connections, contribution, everything else that can come with this commitment of saying, you know what, I'm going to step back. I'm going to do this. I have honey buckets in my life that I want to achieve. And that, to me, a honey bucket is like, what do people call it? A bucket list.
Yeah.
But I said mine's beyond a list. It's a honey bucket because just like a big old bear in the woods, if they smell honey, they're going to come to it. Right? So I want honey buckets, and my honey bucket is to have a business where I can inspire others to be inspired to do what they love.
Yeah.
And bigger than that is to also have the honey bucket of, I love to travel. I want to share with people how to do that, and how you can include that in your life as a busy businesswoman, as a busy mom, as a busy grandma. You know, if we all have so many tasks and things pulling us in a gazillion different directions, but there aren't a lot of places where you can go and find a person who would say, join me. We're going to try something different. We're going to get this confidence to be able to make change once and for all, because I've done it. I've been there. Yeah. And I know a path that will there quickly, right?
Absolutely.
So,
yes. And yeah. You just I wonder when I'm listening to you, I'm just falling more and more in love.
I love that.
With your personality and your soul and your beam, like you're beaming this light out of you. Okay, so how do people find you? What's the easiest way to connect with you? And I know Paulette has a gift for all of us.
I do.
She's going to tell us. Yes. So how do people find you?
The easiest way to reach me is in my Facebook group, because that's where I spend the most time going live and talking to people. And that's called the Women of Significance. And that's in Facebook. Yeah. And if they want to reach me and get on a call, then please just leave a message, a comment down below, and just write call, or go into my group, or direct message me. I'm Paulette Hamel. I'm out there. That's Hamel. And yeah, that'd be the best way. And then the gift that I'd like to leave, there's actually two of them. And they're they're different, but they're important. And the first one is 24 no's to know, as in NO. And the reason I put that in here is one of the gifts for everybody is it starts by being able to know what your yes is. And typically that can't be said until you know how to say no. So I put different situations together and I gave ideas on what can be said, how you can do that. And that's in my, I think it's like 8 pages, but it's a little ebook that I have here that I'd love to give to everybody for free. So just type in gift or however you want to do this, Zhanna, and
I'll put the link. It's going to be in the description underneath the video, but it's good that you are explaining what it's all about.
Yeah, and then the other one is my legacy creator checklist. And that goes back to what I was sharing about the pre-planning. There are things that people just need to be aware of. Do it, take care of this so that you protect yourself and you're leaving a great gift for the people that you leave behind when your time comes. So I have a really wonderful little PDF that I've put together that has resources, what to do, what needs to be covered. And I think people will find it really valuable and it's up to date and current. I think they'll appreciate it. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Of course. Thank you so much, guys. You've been watching the Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, revive, and refuel your life. And today, my special guest was Paulette Hamel. And before we leave officially, Paulette, one last question that I have. If you imagine that you are in the outer space looking down at this little planet, and all you could see from over there is in bold, like your message to humanity or to this 1 million women, or maybe it's billion women by now, and you can only give them one sentence of wisdom, what would that be? Bright and shiny.
Make moments that matter now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
At the end of the day, that's what matters.
That's what matters. Yeah. Well, next time I'm gonna sing a song that I created about that.
That'd be awesome. I can't wait to hear that. That is so cool.
Yes.
Such a beautiful gift that you have. Thank you, Zhanna. I sure appreciate it.
All right, guys, stay inspired and let us know what was the biggest takeaway from this story from Paulette and her sharings. And you can do it in the comments below. You can join Paulette's group, Facebook group. There are so many ways to connect with me and Paulette. We are all on social. Until next time, bye. Thank you.